All right. I think we are live right now. What is going on? Letting it breathe a little bit, given an opportunity to come in. What a night it's been. Um, didn't intend on going live this late, but every time I come into Miami, they just grab their hands around me and they don't let me leave. They pull me in, man. They pull me in. My brother is an owner of a bar downtown, so normally that's where I get stuck. It's called Mama Tried. If you guys are in Miami, I'll give a little shout out there. But I wanted to go live tonight, no matter what. Why? Because I got to tell you guys what my picks are because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna hit 100% this week. I'm feeling really good about my picks, feeling really solid about them, and I'm gonna give you my picks. I don't know if you guys are gamblers. If you guys got a little dirty habit of gambling, you animals. But if you do, I'm gonna help you win some money. All right. So I'm all of my numbers are going off of DraftKings Sportsbook. Wanted to shout out DraftKings. All right. We're gonna take a look at some of the games. We got Bill in the chat. Oh, Bill, it's been a while. Good to see you, brother. We got Bill in the chat. Um, so yeah, I mean it's not gonna be an entirely long episode, but I wanna get my picks in. All right. So internet's super slow. If you guys are on the receiving end of that, I apologize ahead of time. But I did reset the computer, so it should be moving a little bit faster. Um, but in the meantime, let's just get the elephant in the room addressed. I am in Miami, Florida. The Denver Broncos are playing the Miami Dolphins, the undefeated Miami Dolphins that are riding high. No one can do any wrong. They feel good about their head coach, Mike McDaniels. They feel good about the best receiver in the league being on their team. The maybe the second or third, or it's debatable, another top 10 receiver in Jalen Waddle on the team. This offense is amazing. Denver's defense is pretty good. Denver's defense is not as good as they were last year. Denver's defense used to be coached by head coach Vic Fangio, who is now the defensive coordinator in Miami, where Bradley Chubb also is, who we had to trade away in order to get Sean Payton. These two franchises are intertwined in a way that whoever wins this game, in a way, for the fan base of Denver and the fan base of Miami, it'll feel like whoever wins this game has kind of won the long-term trade. Our defense has definitely taken a huge hit since Vic Fangio has left. No one is denying that. But this game is very personal, right? I've been, following Denver around. If we're playing the Commanders or the Giants or the Jets, right? The Jets, there's going to be some history there on, Nathaniel Hackett when we play Week 5. But as far as other teams are concerned, there hasn't been that much history. But this Miami Dolphins game was a game that was circled in the very beginning, and I thought about how poorly this could go for me coming back to my hometown, cheering for the wrong team, and the fact that the Dolphins are doing great, and Miami, or the Broncos are, eating ass at this point. I mean, they're literally 0-2. Apparently, I know, Bill, you probably saw on my Twitter, but nobody has lost their first two games by like less than 4 points or something insane. The point is Sean Payton is not getting a pass, right? They're losing very close games. And the question is, can they right the ship against the Miami Dolphins? Is it possible? Okay. So as far as the sports book right now, you got Miami sitting at 8.5 favorites at home. The game is in Miami. Todd Davis, Super Bowl legend Todd Davis. He was the linebacker for the Denver Broncos during Super Bowl 50. Now working with Zach Stevens on a podcast called DNVR, made a really good point earlier this week saying when you play Miami as an away game, a lot of the players tend to want to go out, go shopping, go get good food, go get good drinks because the Miami scene is the service industry. You can get some amazing food, amazing drinks, and amazing shopping. I mean, he was basically saying players tend to stay out too long on the night before game day. That's why I went out tonight. Honestly, I was just hoping to run into Russell Wilson and be like, no, you're not going to the strip club. Get back to the hotel. We got a big game tomorrow. Now, I didn't run into anybody, so that's a good sign for the Denver Broncos, but I was keeping my eye out there. Now, the Denver Broncos Miami Dolphins game did go down to 6 points. And I'm sure a lot of money came in on Denver at 8.5 because it's like, oh, look, Denver hasn't won. They're not that good. But at the end of the day, Sean Payton's not going to get routed on the road, right? Yeah, I don't think so either. In the 47.5 total, I'm picking the over. I think this is going to be a high scoring game. I think Denver's going to come out and they're going to score first. I think Denver punches them in the mouth. However, I think that the Miami Dolphins are going to respond, and I think that's going to set the tone for the entire game. I think it's going to be a very back and forth game. I did think that the Denver Broncos would probably end up losing the game, but I did not think it would be by more than a touchdown. But now that the line has come down to 6 points, it's made it nearly impossible to bet on, right? Because you either got to pick Denver to win it straight up or not. And I don't know if Denver has shown you enough to bet on them to win. The one thing that I believe is in Denver's corner, and some people may disagree, but I believe starting 0-2 is actually helping the 0-2 teams, right? When you're 0-2, statistically, you're more likely to get a win, right? Because you've already lost 2 games. I mean, how many teams start 0-3? Probably not that many. And plus, you're more desperate for a win. Sean Payton has yet to win a football game as the Denver Broncos head coach. I do not see this being Miami Dolphins, are going to beat the shit out of the Denver Broncos. I don't at all. But as far as the spread lowering down to 6 points, this to me is a don't touch it. And this is coming as a Broncos fan. I would love to say, no, I totally think Denver's going to win. Look, is Denver capable of winning this game? Yes, they are. Can Denver win it tomorrow? They can. They absolutely can go into Miami tomorrow and win this football game. Is it something I'm willing to financially bet on? No, not at all. But yeah, I wouldn't touch this one. And, unless you're saying, no, Miami's going to win by more than a touchdown. I wouldn't love that bet, for me, but it's something to keep in mind. All right, moving on. Buffalo is playing the Washington Commanders. The line was set way higher. It's down to 6 points. I got to say, from the very beginning, this was a game that I thought right away that the Commanders were going to cover. Okay. The Commanders have a really good defensive front. They're doing a really, really, really good job right now on offense, right? They were down by 18 points. We got to see it up close and personal because they were playing the Denver Broncos, but they had every reason to just lose that game, right? A quarterback that you don't really believe in. And the Commanders showed us that they can handle adversity, they can play good defense, and apparently they have a quarterback that can get the job done in Sam Howell, right? Sam Howell to me looked like a young Kirk Cousins out there. I liked the Commanders to cover, but this is another game where it looks like a lot of money has come in on the Commanders to cover. So it is also, with the number game, gone down to 6 points. So to me, this is another don't touch it. Buffalo should win this game, but look, the Commanders haven't lost the game yet. They're feeling really good. They're at home after getting a big morale victory in Denver last week. I wouldn't want to bet on this game. If it was at 8.5, like Denver was, I would take the Commanders to cover. Okay, the Houston Texans playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, look, this is a divisional game, so I'm gonna look at it in division eyes. Okay, the Texans, D'Amico Ryans, still trying to find that win in Jacksonville. Look, we know that division games tend to be close, but let's just be real. I predicted that Jacksonville was going to be the number 1 seed in the AFC, and I'll say it a million times, you cannot do that unless you win the games you're supposed to win. Sometimes it looks too good to be true. In this case, Jacksonville favored 7.5 points. I'm going to take Jacksonville, and I'll take the points. It's unfortunate for the Texans. It's too early to tell, right? If it's a quarterback problem or a head coach problem. It's an entire rebuild. It's going to take time to do. Jacksonville is not where the Texans are, in the stages of the franchise. It's that simple. Jacksonville's going to win this game at home, and they're going to win by more than 7.5. The toughest game of the week, in my opinion, you got to go to the Atlanta Falcons and the Detroit Lions. This game is enormously just difficult to even look at. You guys know that I got Atlanta winning the NFC South, but then the Detroit Lions, a really good team in their own right. Detroit plays better at home, but they were at home last week and lost in overtime to the Seahawks. And the Seahawks, who got beat bad by the Rams. So we're still trying to figure out who everyone is. But while we figure that out, let's not forget that Atlanta and Detroit are two established teams that have an identity. They run the football and they take care of the football, right? They try not to make mistakes. These are two teams, in my opinion, looking in a mirror. The only difference is that the Detroit Lions have Jared Goff. They have a better quarterback, and they have better options at wide receiver, not because of the wide receiver. I think Drake London's great. I think Kyle Pitts is talented, but they're limited to Desmond Ridder. Does Desmond Ridder finally get it going? Look, I'm not going to bet against the Detroit Lions at home. Give me the Lions. It doesn't change how I feel about the Atlanta Falcons. It's just time and place. I'll take the Lions at home. The Indianapolis Colts taking on the Baltimore Ravens. Indianapolis Colts are 8-point underdogs on the road going into Baltimore. I like the Colts covering in this situation. Now, I know Anthony Richardson's not going to be playing because of the head injury, but you still have Gardner Minshew. And Gardner Minshew, when he came in for Jalen Hurts at the end of last season for Philly, he reminded the world that not only can he just fill the spot, but he was going back and forth. I believe, I want to say that was with Dak Prescott. I think they were playing the Cowboys, but Gardner Minshew to me showed, not only was he good enough to be a starter, but when they drafted Anthony Richardson, I was under the impression that Gardner Minshew was going to lead the Colts this season, and Anthony Richardson be an understudy. I guess Anthony Richardson surprised everybody and got the nod, but not really in any way am I saying, because Anthony Richardson's not playing and they got to go with Gardner Minshew, does that mean that the Colts are in bad shape at all? Right? So this is a tricky game because people are like, the Colts are without their starting quarterback. Give me the Ravens at home. It looks good. Give me the Colts to cover. I think the Colts cover this game. I think they go out there. I think they run the football. You got to look at the Jacksonville game. Like the Colts, they're feisty, right? They're trying to get wins. It's early in the season, so you don't have teams that are completely just checked out mentally. every team still believes, whether you're 2-0 or 0-2, that you can either get back into the race or, hey, let's not get complacent with our 2-0 record. So you really have every team still fighting. And as long as you have every team fully fighting and every player bought in, like it's only week 3, I'm not going to take an 8-point spread on that. So I got the Colts covering in this game, and Gardner Minshew having a big game. The LA Chargers playing the Minnesota Vikings. Now, this is the battle of the two best unwinning teams. God, I don't even know if that's proper. The Chargers are 0-2. The Vikings are 0-2. Right now, the books have no idea what's going to happen. The Chargers are 1-point underdogs, which is the nice way of Vegas saying we don't know what the hell is going to happen in this game. Um, let me just say that the whole thing about the Chargers, coughing up the 27-point lead that they had last season and how that's kind of carried over into the new year. I understand where their head's at with that, but that just doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Remember, they did change their offensive coordinator. They have Kellen Moore, who was the offensive coordinator in Dallas. He came over to the Chargers. A lot of people thought they're just going to hit the ground running. Look, if you're going to give me a +1, -1, two teams that are supposed to be better than they are, but none of them have won, I'm gonna be very boring with my answer. Give me the home team, Minnesota. All right, so the New England Patriots are taking on the New York Jets. Now, this is a game where I'm going to call an upset. I got the Jets winning this game. The Jets are 2.5-point underdogs at home. I love a team with a top 3 defense being an underdog at home, right? Because to me, this is not going to take much. Like Zach Wilson's not going to have to do much to win this game. I see this being an ugly game, maybe like a 13-17 victory. But I'm going to take the Jets here, being home underdogs. After coming off of a loss last week, I think the Jets will want to right the ship. I think Robert Saleh is going to have this team ready to go. I understand that they have Zach Wilson and not Aaron Rodgers, and Garrett Wilson hasn't been a big factor since they've had to move to Zach Wilson. But I do think that weak continuity is going to pay off for Zach Wilson, and I expect that relationship with Garrett Wilson to get better as the weeks go on. So I'm going to take the Jets as home dogs here to win this one. The Tennessee Titans are playing the Cleveland Browns. I don't want to overthink this one, all right? Cleveland's playing better football than Tennessee. They're at home. Look, if we're just betting on underdog coaches, Mike Vrabel is one of the best coaches to bet on as an underdog. Cleveland is got a lot going on, but they lost Nick Chubb. How much is Kareem Hunt going to play? I expect him to come back and, just roll right into the offense. But at the end of the day, I'm going to say, look, the home team doesn't win every single game, right? We took the Jets, we took the Vikings, we took the Lions. All right, we took the Jags. Well, let's spice it up here, all right? The Tennessee Titans are going to hand Cleveland a fat L on the road, and that's just the way I see this one playing out. The New Orleans Saints are playing the Green Bay Packers. If this was a segment, I would call this part "Don't Touch It." We don't know who these teams are. We don't. Derek Carr with the New Orleans Saints and Jordan Love with the Green Bay Packers. It's the same mystery. It's the same mystery. All right. I think Jordan Love's going to be really good. But there might be some growing pains. You can tell the books don't know what to do here. +1. Green Bay favored by 1 point at home. Look, I got Atlanta winning the NFC South. I'm going to take Green Bay at home here to get the win. And hopefully they do. If they don't, they're going to have to bounce back really quick because they play Thursday night against the Lions. So win or lose, they play another game in 4 days. So do the Lions. So those are two teams that are going to be looking to get a win. But if they do get a loss, they're looking to bounce back pretty quick. Carolina and Seattle playing each other. Like, I don't think Carolina is going to be good this year. I'm sorry. I like their coach. Don't love their quarterback. Seattle favored by 5 points at home. I would take Seattle, and I'll take the points too. I got Seattle winning by more than 5. Dallas Cowboys 13-point favorites. Somebody say what? Arizona at home 13-point underdogs. It's the NFL. You don't get to be that big of an underdog, but I can understand why Arizona, without some of their best players like Kyler Murray, blah, blah, blah. And Dallas has got the best defense and the best offense in the NFL as far as we've seen so far, right? Number 1 offense in points for, number 1 in defense, points against. Don't overthink it. Give me the Cowboys. Do not take the points. To bet on anybody to win by more than 13 points is a massive gamble. It's the NFL. It's when the spread gets that big that it's not even worth it, because what are you betting on the Cowboys to win by 14 points? Right? When you make the odds that drastic, it's not even worth betting on, because what if the Cowboys win by 13? You win nothing? I just leave this one alone. It's not worth betting $20 to get $22. You're risking a lot. You're not getting a lot. I wouldn't be surprised if Arizona covers here. But at the end of the day, just don't even touch this game. Here is one that I want to talk about. And this one I'm going to talk about a little bit more. We only got a couple more games left. We got this game that I'm going to go over. Then we got Sunday night. And then we got Monday night football doubleheader. All right. So the game I want to talk about is the Chicago Bears going to Arrowhead Stadium and taking on Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City favored to win by 12.5 points on the road. Chicago winless, trying to get their first win, and they have to go to maybe the toughest environment in the NFL to try to get a win on the road with a team that maybe is just now clicking. There's a lot of reason to believe that Kansas City, is going to win this game decisively. But let me point out what Justin Fields said after his second loss. He made some comments about how he needed to get out of his head, how he was too involved in everything that was going on this offseason about Justin Fields needing to develop as a pocket passer. Well, he just came out and was pretty open about how he's been kind of thinking through that filter as he goes. I'm talking about as he goes through his progressions. This is what it's like to have a busy head as a young quarterback, right? You snap the ball, your first read's not there. Your instincts is to run the ball, but then you remember that they said you're not a pocket passer, so you stand in the pocket. You look to your second and your third option, it's not there. And in pursuit of proving to the world that you're a pocket passer, you take a sack and you end up losing the game. Well, Justin Fields just clarified everything because it sounded like he was blaming his coaches. Then he came out and said, I would never blame my coaches and I would never blame my players. Even if they dropped the game-winning ball, I would not blame my players. So that's what he says. But what he said that was really important was that I'm going to get out of my own head about what I should do and what I shouldn't do, and I'm going to play with instincts. Justin Fields came on the record and told the whole world that he hasn't been playing his brand of football because he's been pursuing to please the national audience. But when you don't win, nobody's pleased. So he's basically, to me, saying, hey, if I'm going to sacrifice not instinctively playing the game, I'm going to at least win. As soon as I'm not winning, I'm going to go back to instinct. So that way they can, they heckle me for not being a pocket passer, but at least I got to win in the win column. I expect Justin Fields to go back to playing with raw instincts, and I don't I don't see Kansas City winning this game by 12.5 points. The Bears are winless. They're desperate. You cannot underestimate how valuable being winless by week 3 is. You know the stats. A team that goes 0-3 has got a 7 whatever percent chance of winning, making the playoffs, and if you're 1-2, it's 50% higher. You get it. Everybody knows what's at stake. This is an NFL football game. To think that you're going to just roll over the Chicago Bears, think again. Not only, I mean, I have the Bears covering this game, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is the upset of the week right here. It's going to be very difficult. I still think the Chiefs win this game, but I think it's by like 3 or 4 points. I do not see this at 12.5. I think this is going to be a Sunday of very close football games. You may have your Dallas Cowboys blowing out the Arizona Cardinals. You may have Seattle beating Carolina pretty good, but for the most part, a lot of these games I see being pretty close. And then Sunday night, you have one of the old school matchups right here. The Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. The Steelers coming off a pretty big win. The Raiders at home, after playing back-to-back away games, played at Denver, at Buffalo. They're favored to win by 2.5 points, probably because this is their first home game. They're 1-1. Give me the Steelers. Mike Tomlin on a prime time slot, just like last week. Mike Tomlin's just different on prime time. I don't trust the Raiders. I don't trust their ability to get after the passer. I mean, Chandler Jones is taking a leave of absence. Max Crosby hasn't had a monster start to the season, while Pittsburgh's, able to get after the passer, and I think that they're offensively starting to get going. I got the Steelers winning this game on the road, and I think I got them winning by around 9 to 10 points. And then on Monday night, we got the doubleheader, the Philadelphia Eagles playing the Tampa Bay Bucks. Let me put it this way. Tampa Bay, it's been really awesome what they've done. But if Baker Mayfield can win this game and bring Tampa Bay to 3-0 over the NFC champion Philadelphia Eagles, I'm gonna say Baker Mayfield has resurrected his career. Mike Evans, the number 4 wide receiver in fantasy football right now, because Baker Mayfield has delivered. Can we say that? I mean, I know it's not a fun story. Baker Mayfield's 2018 first round pick, Oklahoma, we're over it. Like, on to the next thing. Let's talk about CJ Stroud and Bryce Young. No, let's take a moment and remember that people can completely rejuvenate their careers in year 5. And that's what we're seeing from Baker Mayfield. Tampa Bay didn't bring Baker Mayfield in here because they thought he was the long-term answer. I'm sorry. I'm never going to believe that. They brought him in because they were like, this is the closest thing we can do to showing the public that we're trying while simultaneously tanking and getting a good quarterback in a heavy quarterback draft. Baker Mayfield took the opportunity and said, no, thank you, stiff arm. I'm going to show you why I was the Heisman, and I have matured going from place to place. Remember, he went from Cleveland to Carolina to the Rams to Tampa Bay. In such a short time, he's played for like 5 different coordinators. Like, you got to understand, he is going to mature. He's got his wife. He talked about his wife having to stay in one location and, unpack their entire life. Baker Mayfield knows, as far as, being in a relationship, how important it is that he gives his wife some kind of consistency to their day-to-day life. Hey, we live in Tampa Bay. We're going to live here for the next 3 years. I can guarantee you that. That's what he's trying to do right now. It's more than football. He's holding on by the threads of the football to potentially his relationship and his football career. A guy like Baker Mayfield, who goes number 1 in the NFL draft, who wins a Heisman, He's not going to be satisfied as a backup. But is he good enough to be a starter? That was the question that we've had this whole time. Baker Mayfield is answering it in a way that is surprising the nation. Now he's playing the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday night at 4:15 p.m. And the question is, can Baker Mayfield deliver? I think two things can happen in this game. I think Baker Mayfield can prove that he can play this game at a high level still, but I still think the Eagles are going to end up getting the win. But I don't see this as a embarrassing loss for Tampa Bay. I see this as the kind of loss where the fans are walking back to their car and they kind of have a smile on their face because they're like, yeah, we didn't win, but Baker Mayfield's only been our quarterback for 3 weeks, and he's already showing us that, who knows how much better he could get in 10 weeks, right? I do think Baker Mayfield goes out there. He goes blow for blow with this Philly team. He makes some big time throws, and Tampa Bay does lose the game, but they get the moral victory. That's the way I see this playing out. Right now, the Eagles are -5. I think it's a really good spot to have this game. I would probably take the Eagles to win by 7 if I had to, but in no way do I think that um, any of these two fan bases are going to be upset after the game. I mean, obviously, a little disappointed for getting the loss, but having long-term answers at the most important position in the NFL is way more valuable than one football game. And I think Baker Mayfield has the opportunity and potentially the power to prove to Tampa that he is the long-term answer there. The LA Rams playing the Cincinnati Bengals. Obviously, we're just waiting to hear if Joe Burrow is going to play. This is a rematch to the Super Bowl. The Rams won that Super Bowl, but the Bengals without Joe Burrow, I mean, it just feels like it's like Batman without Batman. You know what I mean? I mean, this Bengals team needs Joe Burrow to be healthy and to be out there. The LA Rams are without Cooper Kupp. Things aren't perfect there. They just traded Cam Akers over to Minnesota, but Kyren Williams, their new running back, is doing great. The LA Rams are 2-point underdogs on the road. But if there's no Joe, I mean, that's because I guess the NFL bettors are really betting on Joe Burrow playing in this game. I mean, the second Joe Burrow, if he's ruled inactive, this line is going to change completely. If Joe Burrow doesn't play in this game, I'm taking the Rams, and if he does, I'm taking the Bengals. You could hardly blame me for that, right? So those are my picks. I'm going to hit the chat really quick. Bill said the spread on Chiefs Bears is less than Cowboys Cardinals. Mind blown. Yeah. I mean, those are two big ones. And then he said, what you said about pocket passer is exactly what's going on with Daniel Jones, I think. It's like someone told him he can't run anymore and he's been getting killed. It's not just public. It's just not public in the news. Exactly. No, I'm telling you, these quarterbacks, man, they listen to more than they let on to believe. They're really listening to everything going on. And then Bill said Joe Burrow's not playing. He's been ruled out. Thank you for the update. I'm surprised that the Bengals are still favored to win that game. I guess, I mean, last time I checked, he was questionable. So, obviously, a huge loss right now. It says right here on NFL.com. Let me see if this is updated. This was today at 1:28. Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow calf questionable. And then Cincinnati signed AJ McCarron to the practice squad. Remember AJ McCarron, I think he was on this team. I think he was backing up Andy Dalton at one point. So I guess I don't know if NFL.com hasn't updated it or what. I don't know. I'm not seeing it here on NFL.com. So I'll take your word for it. But if Joe Burrow, if he's not playing this game, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. And then Bill said, I'll put a link to the Scott Boston report in the post where I tweeted out you were going live. Appreciate you, Bill. And tomorrow I'm going to be just recording a lot of people. I've made a lot of, I don't want to say mistakes. I'm learning. I've tried to set up my podcast with the camera in the stand and all that. Well, I'm just going to take my phone and go for volume, right? Quantity over quality. I mean the quality is going to be fine. It's an iPhone, but at the end of the day, like I got to get out there and start interviewing people. I can't be like dragging all this equipment around. So we're going to make sure we got a loaded phone and we're going to go into this game where we're going to crush it. We're going to interview fans. Hopefully I don't get embarrassed again. Hopefully we have a good time, and then we're going to put it all together, and I'll be uploading as we go on throughout the day. So just wanted to make sure that I hopped in here and gave you guys my Sunday picks. We're going to see how well I do this year. Last year we did pretty well. I think we hit at 73% on the season. It's better than Vegas, baby. So I did want to give a small update on Browns running back Nick Chubb's MRI. Reveals optimism on knee injury. The season-ending knee injury that the Browns running back Nick Chubb sustained Monday night was so horrific that ESPN declined to show the replay. And online early reports indicated a total dislocation. A total dislocation. I mean, that was a bad video. All right. Sources say tests showed Chubb suffered a torn MCL, which will be surgically repaired next week. While his ACL did sustain some damage, it was not fully torn. There's still a chance, however, that Chubb must undergo full ACL reconstruction. If the surgeon examines the knee during surgery and determines there's enough damage done, a complete repair would be necessary. But going into the surgery, even with all the damage in the knee, is not a given. In addition, Chubb did not dislocate his kneecap, and the other ligaments appear intact, sources say. Sources say it, so it's got to be true, right? Doctor may also repair Chubb's knee using 2 separate surgeries, which would be common given the injury. Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson, like many on Monday night, immediately thought about Chubb's college injury in 2015, a dislocated kneecap plus a torn PCL, MCL, and LCL. And we've all kind of, and this is kind of like how the media does, they find a narrative. It's a huge headline like Nick Chubb career-ending injury, and they jump down the throat of this headline. Look, it turns out Nick Chubb's going to be all right. Like I'm just gonna say it here on this podcast. Like, yes, it sucks when he's been injured before. And yes, his road to recovery is going to be longer because he's been previously injured. But this is why we wait for more information to come out. This is why we don't have, no pun intended, knee-jerk reactions to major injuries. It takes time to understand the dynamics and the ins and outs of the specific injury. All right. I understand Deshaun Watson pointing it out, like, yeah, he was injured in 2015 in a terrible way. It's the same leg. And you know what? The media might have, or they might have asked Deshaun Watson, hey, do you worry about the fact that he had a similar injury in 2015? And then Deshaun Watson goes, yeah, I do. And then they write an article. Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson immediately thought about Chubb's college injury. It's like, yeah, because the press brought it up. You know, I mean, look, at the end of the day, we see nasty, gnarly injuries every single Sunday. And as fans, we're very numb to it. These are individual people that are having serious injuries. In some cases, they are career ending, but that's not for us to, guess about. Like we don't have any idea. Normally, the player has to come back from injury and then go back into the game and then get injured again for it to actually be career ending. Like, it's one thing to say he's on a trajectory to potentially getting in a season ending injury, but to just say that his career is done when they have all the rehab facilities in the world and Nick Chubb's not in his 30s, To me, that just seems a little premature. So let's just hold off and wait on that. I hope Nick Chubb makes it back. I mean, he was one of the most consistent players in the NFL at the running back position. Um, in a way, he was underappreciated in my opinion. Nobody really brought him up in the same breath as Derrick Henry. Even Jonathan Taylor was getting a lot of love. I just feel like Nick Chubb is just, he does the dirty work and he grinds and he puts his nose down. But as soon as the game ends, no one's really talking about him that much. I think Nick Chubb is definitely going to find a way to bounce back. If he gets injured a third time, maybe we can revisit if it's it. But you're talking about an injury that happened 8 years ago. Like these doctors, the technology, everything is getting so much better. I just don't think there's enough here to say, oh, he's not coming back from this injury. So, in looking at the x rays, he didn't dislocate his kneecap. There are a lot of positive signs. So, let's just kind of put the brakes on for a second when it comes to Nick Chubb playing his last snap in the NFL. That just seems a little dramatic. And let's hope that he recovers really fast, just like Aaron Rodgers, who did an update on his Achilles injury on Thursday on the Pat McAfee show outside of Notre Dame. So that was a really good episode. If you guys haven't checked it out, it was outside for the Notre Dame Ohio State game. By the way, Colorado got absolutely demolished today by Oregon. We'll definitely save that for another day. But there was a lot of really, really good football games on today. Florida State winning over Clemson. Oh, Florida State. Florida State, Florida State, Florida State. Woo! Yeah, it's kind of lame. Anyway, Florida State got the dub today. They improve to 4-0. Got to be happy for those guys. And Travis Hunter was talked a lot about in the Colorado press conference by Deion Sanders. I won't talk about it too much, but in the press conference, Deion Sanders did say that this is an opportunity for him to wrap his arms around his players, right? It's not just when they're winning that you want to do that, but now that you have an opportunity to, once you're going through the type of adversity that getting your ass is completely handed to you gives you, Deion Sanders decided to take this opportunity and say, not only are we not going to come back down this low ever again, but I'm going to make sure I love my guys down here. Because if we can't love each other down here, then we're not fit to love each other when we're on top. I just love Deion Sanders, finding an excuse to love on his kids. You know what I mean? A lot of times when you have a coach has a painted picture of him as selfish, conceited, just cares about the media, sometimes you'll see he doesn't even talk about the kids because he's so consumed with how the world is judging him or making fun of him. And they were like, oh, do you feel like this game was humbling? And Deion Sanders was like, no, like we were never cocky, so we didn't need to be humbled. He was like, that's like saying if you get in a car accident, somebody's like, oh, you needed to get in a car accident to appreciate life. That's not true. Like sometimes you appreciate life and then you just get in a car accident. That's what happened today. Colorado got beat. It doesn't necessarily mean that they needed that. It doesn't mean that they were, riding too high. It just means that Oregon had a way better team, or it means that they executed way better than Colorado did today. It's no reason to really read into it too much. And Colorado's got to have short-term memory because they got USC coming up, and ESPN's going to be there live for the whole thing. So not time to sulk, time for them to get out there. And then Bill said, wait, now they're saying it's not true. He's still questionable. No problem. And then prayers for Nick Chubb. Absolutely. So tomorrow, definitely be looking out. I'm gonna set everything up to go live. I got a couple people already lined up to interview Dolphin fans outside the game, so we're gonna be doing that. So definitely tune into that. You can find my throughout the day updates at FTBLONLYPODCAST on Twitter, and you can follow my partner and now Rick ANDNOWRICK, and you can tune in and we'll be giving you live updates, complaining about our fantasy teams and how Denver hasn't got a win yet. Definitely, you'll want to tune into that, especially the emotional press conference that I'm going to have after the game. And then Shaka says, as a Jets fan, I drafted Garrett Wilson 8th overall with expectations that Rodgers would play more than 4 snaps. It just hurts to see him fall to like a top 30 play. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's absolutely gut wrenching. I can't think of an injury, that has sucked. I'm talking about my entire lifetime. Seriously, I can't think of an injury that is worse. I mean, when you talk about the player, the age, the expectations, the new city, I mean, it's just like none of it made sense, right? It was just like, no, that's not how this story ends. There's no way. There's no way. Get a different script. There's no way that Aaron Rodgers is only going to play 4 snaps. It's so anticlimactic. There's no way this is it. So unfortunately, we are going to have to wait another year, Shaka or Chaka. But yeah, don't feel bad. We're all just as upset. Wilson's stock is crumbling without Aaron Rodgers. But honestly, great draft. I don't blame you for wanting to get one of the best receivers in the game, especially with one of the best throwers of the football. It's just unfortunate how it all went down. So that's all I got for tonight. Wanted to make sure I jumped in here. Got to go to bed because we got the Broncos Dolphins game early. Got to wake up, get to the stadium, get ready to tailgate and have a good time and hopefully get a dub. So yeah, have a good night, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Wherever you guys were listening, please subscribe if it's your first time in here. We really appreciate it. We give advice, fantasy advice. Start DeAndre Swift. Look at my short that I posted last night about DeAndre Swift. It had like 3 views. This is a really good short. You guys got to check it out, especially you fantasy players out there. All right, y'all. Have a good night, and I'll see you tomorrow. See